What's up everybody and welcome back to another DW Fan 91 video. Today guys we are talking about time travel in Doctor Who. Now I know that's a rather broad topic, but don't click off, okay? Because hopefully I can add a new perspective, a new dimension.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
To the conversation, because I feel like I've got something new to say here. I feel like I'm gonna say something no one else has said before, which is that time travel really isn't that important to Doctor Who. It's quite rare.
What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
We are over 60 years into this sci-fi time travel television show that is Doctor Who. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I've finally come to the conclusion that there isn't that much time travel in it. To the point where I feel like I can make a reasonably short video talking about more or less every instance. And not just that, but Doctor Who's relationship to the concept of time travel in hopefully a rather brief way, you know? Okay, now I know your first thought, the first thing that everyone thinks when you hear this, the first thing I would think of at least, hey, DW Fan 91, you big ass dumbass idiot. There's the TARDIS, that's a time machine. The Doctor is a literal time traveler. He does time travel. He goes through time. And yeah, don't worry, I didn't forget about that, okay? That's in my mind, that's in the book, we'll get back to that. But first I want to talk about other sci-fi shows. And I think it is important to define what I mean by a time travel plot as we first get into the weeds of this conversation. A time travel plot is a plot that is centered around / focused on time travel, as in the time travel is a key element of the plot that can't be taken out or removed. As in, while the plot is happening, there's got to be time travel. That's my definition for a time travel plot. Leave your own in the comments below. A plot that involves time travel. Now when we look at this and we apply it to the history of Doctor Who, the library, how many stories actually fit this definition? Surprisingly few, especially if we look at the real show, the classic show. It takes 5 seasons, I'm not kidding here, 5 seasons for a story that involves time travel. Now obviously that is not including the historicals, aka the stories that are set in a different time period. Because in the Crusades, or the Romans, or the Highlanders, or any of these stories, there is not time travel. So I wouldn't call them time travel stories. There is no aliens, there is no sci-fi shenanigans. The only things that are out of place are our main characters. Outside of that, it is just a historical story. Tell me, am I crazy for not considering the Crusades a time travel story? Where's the time travel in this story? But yeah, going back to what I said, 5 seasons in, Evil of the Daleks, the finale to season 5. Although finales didn't really exist back then, but you know what I'm saying. This episode features a Dalek time corridor. This lets the Daleks go between 2 time periods. This is very important to the story. Cutting ahead a few years, it takes until season 9. Season 9, people. 9 years in before we get our next time travel story, again with the Daleks. It's Day of the Daleks. This is the Proto-Terminator. A group of guerrilla fighters come back from the future to try and assassinate a guy who will then lead to a dystopian future. You guys know the story. You don't need me reiterating it. There's a time corridor here as well. Time travel, very focused on the story. After that, what story has flipping time travel, guys? Weirdly enough, a story called The Time Monster. Very little time travel. Here we go. Does this count? The Master takes different people from different time zones to fight in one episode of The Time Monster. Does this make it a time travel story? You know what? I'm going to be lenient. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Even though it's only relevant to about 5 minutes of this time travel story, I will say yes. Again, with the Time Warrior, Lynx the Sontaran is taking people from the future, which at this point is the present, taking them back through time. That's time travel. He's the Time Warrior. That counts as a time travel story. Invasion of Time, no, I do not count that one as a time travel story. There is no time travel involved in that episode. Everything is on one timeline. We don't do time travel. It doesn't count, okay? The Claws of Axos has a time loop at the very end of it. Does that mean it counts? In my opinion, no. So the count still stays at 4. How about this? I'm willing to account for a margin of error. Let's include 5 in case there's an episode I'm forgetting. So we got 5 stories in 15 seasons. Let's try and find some more. Face of Evil. Time travel has occurred off screen in that the Doctor came here before years ago. Does that count? No, I don't think that counts. Any occurrence of off-screen time travel doesn't count. It's got to be time travel involved in the story. City of Death. Bang, that's 6. Okay, now we're going into the 80s. Can't think of any time travel stories in season 18, 19, 20. Mordrin Undead. That's 7. We got 7 in 20 years. And no, I'm not counting Earthshock. That is, at the very end, doesn't count. The 5 Doctors, I'm not going to count it. Resurrection of the Daleks, that includes the Time Corridor, but not really. I'm not going to count that one. The 2 Doctors, not really. Trial of a Time Lord, still not really involving any time travel. And I feel like the last real contender is Remembrance of the Daleks. But all the time travel in that story occurred off screen, so no, it doesn't count, which means that our final count for the entirety of classic Doctor Who, 7, let's call it 8 with a 1 margin of error, 8 time travel stories in 26 years. Am I the only one who feels like that's a bit crazy? Thought this was supposed to be a time travel show. Let's keep this train going. Let's go to the new series. Father's Day. Bang! First real time travel story. Girl in the Fireplace, we got 2 and 2 series. Blink, obviously up next. And then from here, you will see the number of time travel stories skyrocket with the introduction of a Mr. Stephen Moffat. All of his stories pretty much feature a time travel element. From River Song as a character, to even Amy as a character. And if you really squint, Clara as a character too. There's a hell of a lot of time travel just thrown in basically every series from this point on. Even down to the 12th Doctor getting a picture of Bill's mother, which as a scene is great and serves to remind the audience that yes, this is a time travel show. Or is it? Is it a time travel show? Because as I just pointed out, there isn't a lot of time travel in it. Okay, now I don't want to steer this video into a discussion about Stephen Moffat and Stephen Moffat's approach to writing. I've already done that. But to cut it short and sweet, Stephen Moffat's approach to Doctor Who is a very idealized version of what he remembered Doctor Who to be when he watched it as a kid, which in my opinion is the perfect way to do it, and that's why his era is so good. But it also means that a lot of public perceptions and audience perceptions of the show do get a bit skewed by the idea of what it is versus what it actually is. Because there is so much time travel in this one era of Doctor Who, because he remembered that there was a lot of time travel before, a lot of people get the impression that there's always been time travel in Doctor Who. But why? But why? And how? How's the real question here? What's going on with this show? And I think it all goes back to the TARDIS. The TARDIS time travel time machine, universal joyride, box of tricks extraordinaire. This thing is brilliant. This thing is genius. It's a wonderful idea, but it also can't be used that much. One of the main unspoken rules of Doctor Who is that you can't use the TARDIS to solve the problems. The TARDIS is transport, okay? It's a vehicle for the story to start. It's where the story starts, is where the story ends, okay? You start the story by leaving the TARDIS and you end the story by getting back in. Very rarely at a midpoint in the story do you go back in the TARDIS. And in fact, it's a sign that your story probably needs to be switched around a little bit if you can go back to the TARDIS and then just fly away. This is because the TARDIS is too overpowered. So it is skillfully written to the side so that it doesn't bother anyone whilst the main plot is happening. Basically, Doctor Who is a time travel show where all the time travel happens off screen. We use time travel to get to the story. So the story is not a time travel story, but there is time travel in the show. It's just off screen. Okay, so that makes sense why there isn't as much time travel as you'd think. The TARDIS is the way we use time travel, and we can't use the TARDIS because that would be bad storytelling. So how come there is time travel? Either there should be or there shouldn't be. How can there be so many episodes where there's time travel if that rule holds true? Okay, well I'm going to answer that question and then I'm going to explain why it's so rare, especially in the original show. So, as we previously established, we can't use the TARDIS during the main plot of the story because that takes the tension out of things because it's too OP. And also because it just wouldn't fit the story, man. What, you never seen a story before? So, if there is going to be time travel in your science fiction story, TV show, etc., it can't be the TARDIS. Therefore, it has to be set up and introduced in the story. You've got to waste all this time to explain and make the rules for, and literally create out of thin air, a new way to time travel. As you will notice, every story involving time travel in Doctor Who is that the time travel involved is new and created in that episode or series. with a few exceptions. There's no universal rule when it comes to this show. So in Blink, for example, the reason it's a time travel story isn't the TARDIS. Remember, the TARDIS is barely used. It's the Weeping Angels. The Weeping Angels that are introduced in that story, their time travel mechanics are introduced in that story. That's where the time travel comes in. Girl in the Fireplace, is it the TARDIS? Nope, just forget about that. It's the fireplace, it's the spinny thing. That's what makes the time travel, that's how it works. The Time Warrior, it's Lynx, it's the Sontaran, he's using a time machine. Day of the Daleks, it's this switch thing. Evil of the Daleks, it's a time corridor. The Time Monster, it's Kronos. The War Games, well, the War Games doesn't really count because there isn't actually time travel happening there. You just think it's time travel. It's a plot twist that there isn't actually any time travel, so it's not a time travel story. So basically, if you wanted to have a time travel story in Doctor Who, you would have to have the Doctor land in the TARDIS, all of that off-screen time travel stuff. Then you would have to have him walk in and discover new time travel technology, which comes with all of its complications because time travel is very difficult to make. It's a big head scratcher. You've got to do all that. You've got to have a time travel story that works, and then you've got to have the Doctor go into the TARDIS at the very end of it. Huh? As you can probably guess, that's very difficult to do, and that's why it's so rare. The reason there aren't that many time travel stories in Doctor Who is because they are deceptively difficult to do. Case in point, let's look at Flux. One of my favorite stories ever. I love this series. You guys know I love this series, but let's hold no pretenses. It is a little bit confusing. Now, you could say wibbly wobbly timey wimey, just get used to it, kid. But realistically, it's because time travel is just so difficult to do, man. You got to explain all these different ways that people are time traveling. The Grand Serpent, he's got a vortex manipulator. The Sontarans, they can time travel through time, which, I mean, to be fair, that's always been there. You've got this teleport thing that's going on with Dan. He's regenerating. And you got the Weeping Angels. I mean, when you add time travel into the plot, it just gets so confusing. And that's not even talking about any of this new stuff. So what's the moral of the story? What's the learning lesson of the video? Basically, time travel is very difficult to do well in stories in general, and it isn't as common in Doctor Who as you might think. Damn, what a waste of time. Oh yeah, secret third lesson. Stephen Moffat is the GOAT, and his era is my favorite of the modern show. New videos coming soon, people. What the hell? Okay, don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, and a special thanks to everyone who helps support the channel. Tom, Cardboard Oracle, Silver Safi, Bunny, Zoom, Dr. Hoomst, Jack D. Murray, Vorschkorm, The Instinct, Kai Keller, Renegade Time Lord 97, Manny, Eric, Ren, Poop Criminal, Diego, Theta, Dark Tranquil, Chicky, No More Flippin', 6 Dr. Fan 84, Comfy Glitch X, Harry, Sanyu, Amara God, Noah T, T Mara, Dobcool, Casual Log, E West, Christian Rothfuss, Unreal Dinnerbone, Aidan Davies, Reef Edwards, Space, Amber Knight, KCKC, Snurly, Connor Bell, Ertle the Turtle, Andrew Locke, Bill Fleming, Hush, Wasabi, Jessica, Kai M, Kylo Wade, Mel, Owen, Toby-Wan Kenobi, Sophie in the Sky, Goldfish, Johnny, Anthony Lentz, Fuchsia the Jester, Benzuko Lives, Freddie, Ross, JRW, Ethan, Hiroki, GBZ, Cine Curious, Max the Epic Man, Steven, Only Son AFK, AJ, Andrew Sherburn, Table Printador, Mystic Shorty, Clown Car, Jules, Ollie Pixon, ItZ5, Moth, Humanoid Gaming, Swaro, Philippe, Nick, Kastretch, Just Tim, and Teddy Bite. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!